Hello everyone, this is Tim from Arcana. Today's MEVO White Belt training video is all about certificates and how we grant them. Now, the primary protocol that we're going to be using is called SCEP. This is the Simple Certificate Enrollment Protocol. Now, a lot of security teams may initially flag SCEP because it uses HTTP. However, there are a few things to note about this. First, SCEP uses a completely encrypted payload. Your certificate request is already encrypted. So even though we're using HTTP, it is only being used as transport. This makes it completely secure. Second, when we configure HTTP, it only needs to go on the STP router. It does not need to go on the MEVO server, and any HTTP can be completely disabled on the MEVO server. On the STP router, you can configure a custom port for HTTP. You can also configure a session module list. This will make sure that whenever an HTTP request is made to the STP router, it will only respond if it recognizes it as SCEP. If you deploy your STP router using our default MEVO template, this will all be configured automatically for you. Now, when we talk about granting the certificates, it will be helpful if you are already familiar with the provisioning process. So if you're not, please go watch that video first. When you are provisioning a spoke router and you access the provisioning web page, the STP router will actually read the RSA fingerprint on your spoke. This way, when your spoke goes to request that certificate, the STP has already pre-granted or pre-authorized that router to get its certificate. This process is completely handled by the STP's zero-touch provisioning functionality. You do not need to configure Grant Auto on your certificate authority. We have seen customers in the past who tried to deploy a MEVO environment without our help, and we see that Grant Auto is configured on their certificate authority, and that is very insecure because that means anybody who requests a certificate to your STP will be able to get one. Again, if you follow our best practices, if you follow our training, and if you have us for professional deployment services of your MEVO environment, we will make sure this is all taken care of for you. To give an example, let's head over into our lab environment. So this lab will be a little bit special because normally I'm trying to show you how something works. But if you've already watched our video on how to provision, you should already know that this does work. And so this video is going to be showing you how to break things. And hopefully by showing you how it's broken, you'll understand, well, how it's supposed to work. So one thing I mentioned in the certificate granting process is that the STP router reads the fingerprint of your RSA key. So if I'm able to get into the provisioning web page and start provisioning the device, but my key has changed, then what I would expect to see is that my certificate won't be granted. This is because now my router will be requesting a certificate from a different key than what the STP thinks I should have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my templates and let me find my device type, and then let's go into the base template. And let me just put in a command to generate a new key pair. So this should be crypto key generate RSA. We'll say mod 2048, label TTI. And now let me go ahead and save my template. So because my base template is going to be the first configuration that will be pushed to my device will generate a new key pair. And then later when it goes to request that certificate, because it's using a new key pair, it shouldn't be recognized by the STP router. So let me go back to my groups page. Let me find the device I'm using. Let's use this white belt training one. Let me submit a new request for him. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to go to view request, and I'm going to grab my one-time password. I'm going to go to my provisioning URL. 208.115.110.196. Now, before I go here, let me go ahead and show you. I have a console connection to my router, and I actually put in that crypto RSA key pair generation just to make sure I was doing this right. So I have a key pair on here already. Show crypto key, my pub key RSA, I think TTI. Yep. So here's my existing key. So when I go to the provisioning web page, the SDP router will read this key, and it will be looking for this key from this device when I go request that certificate. Now, during the provisioning, because I added that same key generation line to the template, this is going to get replaced. So what we should see is the provisioning process should not successfully complete for my device because I shouldn't have a certificate on it. I've also got my SDP router available in the background here, and we will take a look once we get to that. So let me log into our provisioning page. This is, what was this, White Belt training? Yes, White Belt training. White Belt training. And let me make sure I had this copied. So sign in. Now, at some point on our SDP router, if I just put in this request alias to look at what requests in our database, I should see an entry that says authorized. That authorized entry is essentially that certificate that is given to this key pair. But again, this key pair is going to be overridden. So we should see that entry just sitting in our SDP router, and it'll never be given away. So I'll do send anyway. Cisco. And this is White Belt training. Send anyway. And now let's take a look. Okay, this is provisioning, so let's take a look at our SDP. Aha, so there is our authorized certificate. Now, because the key pair got overwritten, when this goes to request a certificate, what I should see is I should see an entry in the SDP that says pending. Normally that pending certificate won't appear because your key pair shouldn't be getting overwritten during this enrollment process. So let's go ahead and wait a little bit to see if we can see an enrollment message in our syslog. Okay, so I think this is it. So let's jump back, do a request. There it is. So we can see that because our key pair got overwritten, this granting process isn't going to work automatically. You should also be able to see from this that you don't want your CA configured in grant auto mode. It needs to be configured just how it is in our default template so that the certificate granting process is secure. If you have any questions, let us know.